All right, everybody. Lesson 2 and lesson 3 are going to be combined. So, if you'll remember, we started reading Summer of the Mariposas yesterday. At the very end of the story of the prologue, we learned that the sisters found a dead body where they were swimming. So, what we're going to start to explore now that we're going to read more of the actual book is some characterization and point of view. So, let's jump in. We're going to read some traits on some of these cards to determine how people might describe their character. So, again, character is like character traits, behaviors, almost labels that you can give a person that explain who they are. So, as we look to see how people are acting, behaving, emoting, we start to assign them character traits. So think of 3 words that someone might use to describe you. Next to each word, write a reason why they might describe you that way. So, for example, is nosy because my friends say I always want to know what's going on. So you got 1, 2, 3. And just to make sure this is clear, this is very much like text evidence, right? You label and then provide your evidence. So 3 different ways that, or 3 different traits that you have. Card 2. We are going to start to even explore even further these character traits, and you're going to read chapter 1. So you're reading chapter 1. While you read chapter 1, you are going to be highlighting fast. Now, fast, if you don't remember, is feelings, actions, what do people say, and what do people think. These don't necessarily directly tell us what character traits are, but when we do a combination of feelings and actions, or feelings and what they say, or thoughts and actions, we start to get a more clear picture of character traits. So, you are going to highlight in this way. Actions are going to be highlighted in red. Actions in red. Sorry, feelings in red. Actions in blue. What they say in green. And thoughts in yellow. None of these were what we used yesterday, so you should have separate actions, separate color highlights. If it will help you, you can still highlight things like characters. You can do an orange and then one of these colors that goes with that orange. And then if you find a new setting, highlight that in purple too. So you're having 6 different highlight colors. Look at the screen to know which ones you're doing. And then you'll complete that as you read. So the first thing, Odilia, who is our narrator, when we use the word I, that's Odilia speaking. So we're looking at her response to seeing the dead body. What are 2 details you notice about what Odilia does or says? So, for example, she yanks her sister. That detail is an action of Odilia. So, if you highlight that as an action, you would highlight that in blue. So, list 1, 2. 2 different details you notice about her. Answer the poll real quick, and then we're going to keep exploring Odilia's character. Again, I is really important because we're also thinking about point of view. We now know that this story is being told from Odilia's point of view. Odilia obviously is one of our sisters, and so we want to make sure that this perspective that we're thinking about is for this character, Odelia. So when we start to hear things about what she says, thinks, we build that into our understanding of who Odelia is in this story. So, what are your first impressions of Odelia? If you need to reread paragraph 12 to make sure you have a really good idea, I suggest you do that. It's pretty short. Answer your question. You're going to reread the rest of the passage. Make sure you highlight and add a note for 4 or more of Odelia's actions, words, or thoughts. We're just going to do fast for this. So all you're doing in this is going back into your highlights and adding a note that tells you what you understand about what you highlighted. Okay. So right here, I yanked her toward me. If you highlighted that in blue, like you could have, your note for that would be she pulled her sister, showing she is trying to protect her. So we make a little inference about the evidence that we're highlighting. So, what are some words you might use to describe her based on what you highlighted and what your notes were about? You should have 3 to 5 words to describe Odelia at this point. Activity 3. Continue to reread chapter 1. So you are going to reread it again. And you're thinking about Odelia's fast and how that fast gives you a more clear picture of her. We continue to investigate, continue to refine to make sure that we understand these characters. What does she do? What does she say? What does she think? Make sure you're going back and highlighting even more of those details and adding those notes. Look at your evidence, and you're going to make a little post about one character trait after your exit ticket in Padlet. And you need to provide your evidence. Look in Padlet at Mr. O'Connor's example to do this. We're going to skip 4. And we're going to go to your exit ticket, and then you're going to hop over to Padlet. Lesson 3. As we continue to investigate characters, characterization, point of view, we're also going to think about how is our story being organized. So remember, all stories, fiction stories, are rooted in cause and effect, right? The conflict happens, which causes the main character to try to solve the conflict in some way. That's cause and effect, right? They work on something, they try to fix it, something else happens, try to fix it. So, first, what is the problem that the Garza sisters face? Do a quick matching activity. And then what is the solution you propose? So, another way to frame a narrative story is problem and solution. Obviously, the conflict is the problem. So, how is the main character or the main characters taking steps to solve that problem? That's what your rising action is. You are going to read chapter 2, and you're going to continue to highlight fast. There's some vocabulary words that you need to make sure you're looking up. Any words that you don't know, you need to be looking up. While you're reading, remember you are thinking fast. Same color highlights. And always add your notes as your inferences. Card 2. Which sister would you match with each of the first impressions? So this sister seems cautious. Which one do you think it is? Just copy and paste from there. Impulsive, decisive, adventurous, copy and paste. You should have evidence from the text that's guiding your thinking. So if I ask you about this, you should be able to point to fast for one of these characters in the text and say, this sister seems cautious because she did this or she said this. Which sister are you going to profile? That means which sister are you focusing on to analyze their character? And now we're going to start to create a character profile. So focus on chapters 1 and 2. Highlight all those fast details that you were supposed to highlight, but go back and find them, or sorry, don't highlight them again. Go back and find those highlights you were supposed to highlight for your particular character, sister, that you're profiling. So based on what you've read so far, what are 2 traits for that character that you've seen most often? And our writing activity. So this is going to be an SCR, short constructed response. I'm looking for you to organize it using race first. So RACE first, and then you type your completed 2 to 3 to 4 sentence paragraph. So you've chosen one of those sisters that you profiled. And what character traits do you think will be important as the sisters begin their adventure? So pick one character trait and go ahead and write it and then hand it in and hop over to the exit ticket and you are done.